Well, his videos are apt to go. This is take number two, and the reason it's take number two is because I came in here wearing one of the t-shirts that I normally work out in, and the neck was all scrunched up looking, and I said that won't work. Let me go put on a different shirt to look like I at least didn't just fall off a turnip truck. Oh man, I am sounding so southern tonight. I hope you'll bear with me. I am Gene Fleming. I am the host of the Pushing 60 Aside podcast in our fifth season. And some of you have been longtime listeners. Some of you are new because of going to the YouTube format. And I'm glad you're taking time to investigate what this guy has to say. First of all, I am a fitness trainer, and I've been instructing senior fitness for 5 years, and I've been a certified trainer for 7 years. And so, why does somebody start into that kind of a thing this late in life? Well, if you haven't heard the story, I was a very sick guy, and I got well, and I was a very obese guy, and I lost the weight, and then I became a runner and all kinds of other things. And I was so thankful that I had gotten my life back, that I felt alive again, that my pain level was tolerable, that my health markers, my blood work, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, my resting heart rate, all those things got progressively better over the years that I continued to exercise and eat healthy foods. And that's it in a nutshell, a little tiny nutshell. The backstory. You need to know the backstory because where does a person get credibility to go on YouTube or any other format and talk about a specific demographic when it comes to fitness? And because I specialized in senior fitness, now I have years of experience actually doing physical training and cardiovascular training with people that are age 60 and over. You learn a lot when you're in the trenches. You learn about personalities, you learn about health histories, you learn about limitations, you learn about the rigors of going through a knee or hip replacement surgery. You learn a lot about heart disease. And of course, thanks to the pandemic, we learned quite a bit about illnesses from a viral infection, those sorts of things. So you learn a lot. And the one thing that I've learned is that for most of the things we encounter as senior people, the prospect for rebounding is there. That leads me into tonight's topic, and it's along the lines of you better use it before you lose it, and you better prepare for what may be more difficult times ahead. Tonight over dinner, I was talking with my wife, and there is no taboo subjects in our house. And of course, she doesn't want to hear me talk about fitness all the time, and I don't want to discuss her favorite TV program all the time either. So, but we work to a happy place where we talk about our favorite things, and we talk about our kids, and we talk about our dogs, and we talk about our video games we play. Yeah, that's me mashing my video buttons. We talk about that sort of stuff because we do play the same game, which makes it kind of interesting. So anyway, in case you wondered, it's Nintendo Switch. We play Animal Crossing, and and it's a very enlightening, fun, and mentally stimulating game to play. So if you're looking something to do next winter, buy you a Nintendo Switch. You get the game Animal Crossing, and this is not a plug for them. I don't get a commission for mentioning that or anything. No, we don't monetize this sort of stuff. I'm just telling you what we do in real life because we're real people, just like you and your loved ones are real people. But use it or lose it. We've heard that said so many times. We've heard it said in country songs, but it's real. Excuse me. I'm going to pause and take a. You want me to do another shameless plug? When I drink diet soda, I can do that and get away with it because it's my YouTube channel and it's my podcast. So, but no, this is what I drink when I drink diet soda. Of course, we're at the height of pollen season here, so it doesn't take much to make me sneeze or cough right now. But so this topic of use it or lose it and preparing for times that are going, if you live, you're going to go through difficult times at some point in the future. And I'm not talking about necessarily life or death matters, but I'm talking about health issues. I'm talking about physical issues, knees, hips, ankles, feet, shoulders, necks, backs, things like that. Internal problems with digestion, heart, breathing, all those things. We aren't done living yet, and we've gone through struggles at different stages of our life, and maybe even recently, maybe you had a bout with a certain virus. I was fortunate enough to get through the pandemic without catching said virus. But what have I had? What have I had? Well, I'd like to think that going into the pandemic, I was in pretty good physical shape. My lungs were in good shape. My heart was in good shape. My metrics, my markers on my blood work and everything were good, and I was probably as healthy as any other person who was in their 60s who would get the virus, and I was healthier than a whole bunch more of them. So am I bragging on my health? No, I'm thankful for my health, but it has been something I've had to continually work at for many years. I didn't just flip a switch, lose weight, flip a switch, be able to run and lift and do all these things. But while I've got your attention, I want you to consider what you're doing to prevent the loss of abilities you have had and that you presently have. How are you going to keep those abilities, those physical abilities, going forward 5 or 10 years? When we were in our 40s, we never really thought that one day I'm going to be old, and one day my arthritis is really going to come home, and one day this knee is going to start acting up because the cartilage is gone in it. One day I might fall and break something and have a serious injury. We're in our 40s. We don't think that because we're still at that stage where we're rather invincible feeling. I mean, some of us still had kids at home when we were 40. And so, we really weren't thinking about being the elderly grandparent at that point. We just weren't. We might have kind of dreamed about one day I'll be Papa Jean and she'll be Granny Kathleen. She'll kill me for calling her Granny. She doesn't like that. But we didn't think really much about where we would be in 20 years when we were 40. We didn't think, oh, one day I'll be 60 years old. And at some points in my life, 60 seemed like an ancient person, and now that I'm 65, 60 is a young person. So if you're 60 watching this, know that I think you are a young person. So, but anyway, in training seniors these last 5 or 6 years, I have seen 60-year-olds that could barely walk, that had lost most of their muscle mass already. I've seen 85-year-olds that can keep pace with me on any aerobic session and sometimes outperform me. It's not a competition, but I'm saying some people have stayed healthy and they have stayed active, and exercise has been a norm in their lives. But I'm asking you, the listener, the viewer, what are you going to do to make sure that 10 years from now you can at least manage whatever's on your plate right now? And by on your plate, I mean your daily life, your home maintenance, your yard maintenance, your automobile maintenance, taking care of livestock if you have horses or cows or even chickens, or maybe if you're a gardener like I am, are you going to be able to do that? What about just routine lifting and moving of items, windstorms, cleaning up afterwards, those sorts of things? Because life is going to keep right on throwing stuff at us, and sometimes it catches us on short notice. We had some severe winds here this last week. And it wasn't tornadoes or anything like that, but we had really hard winds for a couple of days. And these big old silver maples out here in my front yard, they were throwing limbs left and right. And they weren't very big limbs. We didn't have a tree break in half or anything like that. But still, it requires of me to go out there and I have to pick them up, and I have to pile them up. And the city sanitation department picks all that debris up out there on the street if I get out there, pick it up, and pile it up. So I look at myself and I consider how I feel now, what I'm able to do now, and how do I make sure that going forward, because the goal is to continue aging, how do I make sure going forward that I can still do at least most of this stuff? Well, Mr. Gene, how are we going to make sure we can do that kind of stuff 5, 10 years from now? I'm glad you asked. And I'm not getting ready to sell you some protein powder or some super vitamins or some anything else, exercise equipment. No, this podcast is not and will never be about trying to sell stuff, because I don't. I might joke with you, but I might tell you what I like or prefer, but I'm not getting kickbacks or commissions or anything. I'm not a pitch man. What I'm pitching for is for you to grab a little bit of the fire that I have about doing everything that's reasonable. Notice I said reasonable, to keep myself physically fit, to keep myself physically strong, to keep myself mentally agile, to keep my joints working as best they can going forward, because I'm not done living yet, and you aren't either. You aren't either. I'd like to think that when my youngest granddaughter has her baby, that I'll be able to pick that baby up. And we're many, many years away from that now. We're 10, 15 years away from my youngest granddaughter maybe becoming a mother. But I'd like to think that when that little girl is 3 or 4 years old, I can pick her up and, and carry her if I need to. By that time, she'll probably be 3 or 4 years old and may weigh 30, 35, 40 pounds. I don't know how much little kids weigh, but she'd be my grandbaby. And if I wanted to pick her up and carry her to the car in a heavy rain or something, I'd like to be able to think I could do that. So what are you doing right now on a weekly basis? Let's just look at weekly. I'd like to think that you were really being reflective about the next 10 years and what it's going to take, because you already know how you are today. You know your limitations and what they are today. Is it possible that those limitations could be stretched out a little bit? Could you get healthier? Could you get stronger? Of course you can. There is no age restriction on strength. Now, there's some age restriction on, let's say, bodybuilding and creating a big gun show, and we're never going to get back down to maybe the body shape or style that we had when we were teenagers or in our 20s or before some of you had children. The likelihood of us ever going back to what we once were is very slim. But to be functionally strong for a person of your present age, that's very doable. And from my experience, you'd be very surprised at just how physically fit many people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s are. So I put them through the rigors in my training programs. I'm talking about really dynamic aerobics, not high impact stuff, but really challenging aerobics with HIIT training mixed in, and with really complete body training for every muscle and joint we can possibly shake and move in the course of an hour. And trust me, we can hit a lot of them through one form of training or another. So right now, my folks are doing these exercise classes with me 3 days a week. I think it's good because you exercise pretty hard on Monday. You get a break on Tuesday. You hit it again Wednesday. Thursday's kind of rest and recovery day. And Friday's another hit it hard day. And if you want to go for a long walk or a hike or something on the weekend, I support that. That's fine. That's just normal activity. But If you're not doing some kind of physical exercise, resistance training, strength training, and targeting the large muscle groups of your body and using the joints that support those large muscle groups, we're talking ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrist, all of that. If you're not doing exercises that keep those things used to being used, they get stiff. That's not rocket science. Take me for instance. If I sit too long in my favorite chair out in the den, when I go to get up, I groan like an old guy. And then I rise up and I straighten my hips out, and you know that feeling already. You know that feeling, but what if I couldn't get myself up? Maybe I could get to the edge of the couch and then I had to rock, 3 or 4 times, put my hands on my knees, maybe grab the arm of the chair and use everything about me to get myself up. Well, if I train just right, this getting up thing, whether it's from the toilet, or a dining room chair, a booth at a restaurant, getting in and out of the car, I don't need assistance to do those things, but I've really got to keep all those muscles that do those things working. So it's legs, front, back, and sides. It's calf muscles. Uh, you know, it's glutes, your rear end muscles, and a host of other muscles. But this isn't a biology class. I'm just talking with a wide paintbrush about all the muscle groups that we need to take care of. Everything from your belly button up that's a muscle, obliques on the sides, abs in the front, low back muscles, muscles in your upper back, your trapezius, your lats, your deltoid shoulders, biceps, triceps, all the arm muscles, the forearm muscles that give you grip strength. What am I doing to keep those? What are you doing to keep those muscles all working, but not just those muscles, but the tendons that are the connectors for those muscles to your bones? One of the things that I correct people in my classes quite frequently about is say like if we're doing bicep curls. Everybody knows what a bicep curl is, so I'm not going to jump back and demonstrate one with one of these dumbbells down here. But there's a tendency for people to want to do a short stroke. Now, maybe I will slide back a little bit. Yeah, can you still see me? Sure you can. So they're doing a bicep curl, and and a bicep curl starts down here by your leg, okay, and comes all the way up and down. I have people in my classes that say, "Well, I'm going to do my bicep curls," and they start here and they're just doing this little short stroke thing. It's better than no exercise at all, but the elongation of those tendons that support those muscles are crucial because just as muscles get in shape, tendons get in shape too, both with stretching and in strength. So it's important that when you're doing exercises, you're doing them correctly. That's why it's really beneficial to have a trainer that knows how to help you do the exercises right. Now, sure, you can find somebody on YouTube that demonstrates how to do proper dumbbell work, and I'm a big believer in dumbbells, but you can find somebody to teach you the proper way to lift. And in doing so, that shoulder all the way around is going to work at an optimum level with minimal pain. Sometimes our shoulders hurt because we don't use them. We don't ever reach above our heads. We don't ever reach back here like you're reaching into the back seat of the car. You've done that before. Reach over the seat and try to grab something out of the back. You've done that. Maybe we don't ever really fully extend and press our arms forward. In doing the right kind of weightlifting, you can keep that shoulder in top shape. I think about things that we do in everyday life. Now, I used to travel a lot for the military, and when I first started going on assignments overseas, I had two huge Samsonite suitcases, the old hard shell ones. You remember those? And I had two of them, and I can remember lugging those things through the airport in San Francisco, one in each hand, and I must have had, I don't know, 50 or 60 pounds worth of stuff in each suitcase. And I don't know if you've ever tried walking anywhere with 120 pounds worth of luggage, in your hands. But that was hard. Well, I'm not doing that sort of stuff anymore. But the grip strength that it takes to, say, handle a wheelbarrow, we're still doing that stuff, right? Yeah. The grip strength that it takes to use a farm implement, a hoe, shovel, post hole diggers. Here lately, I've spent a lot of time with a pickaxe extracting root systems from some shrubs that died in the wintertime. But the strength that it takes to hold on to something, a good grip, and and so what am I doing to keep all these muscles in this forearm amply strong to where I can do ordinary things like just take the lid off a jar of jelly. That's a simple example, but if I'm grabbing a basket of laundry, grabbing it, picking it up, walking with it, I want to make sure that shoulders, arms, forearms, grip strength is all there to do this very ordinary thing. And so, anyway, I ask you, if you haven't considered getting into an exercise routine, whether you get a DVD that's designed for seniors, they're for sale on Amazon. And this is not a shameless plug for Amazon, but you can buy Silver Sneakers workout DVDs on Amazon, and they're reasonably priced. And you could have your whole workout on your television screen. Get you a couple of 5-pound dumbbells, some 10-pound dumbbells, whatever's comfortable for you. Work along with the video, and about 45 minutes worth, and you've got all these major muscle groups covered. Well, Mr. Gene, what about the legs? Well, I'm a big proponent of calf raises and squats. And I could sense the panic in your mind when I said squats, because the first thing we think about when we think about squats is we think, oh no, I don't do that. I'm not strong enough to do that. Trust me, after all these years of training seniors, and when I first told them we were going to do squats, panic swept across the room, and I started them out doing mini squats, just a slight bend of the knee and then coming right back up, a slight bend of the knee and right back up. And then we started working on form. First thing we had to do was to get their tendons and muscles going out to the edge of that range to where the tendons were stretched and strong and used to being used that way, and that their muscles were used to lifting the load of their bodies back up. Now most of the people in my classes can do really decent squats, and when it comes to standing up from a chair, they can do it without the use of a countertop or a cane or a walker, or even their hands on their knees. And we practice this stuff every class. Well, we want to be compensated for our efforts, right? We want the payoff for all the grinding with weights and walking and marching in place and doing side steps and kicks and the sort of stuff we do in aerobics. Well, when does this begin to pay off? The truth of the matter is it takes about 6 weeks of progressive working at it to get your body to adapt, to get used to just doing these sorts of things. Granted, a lot of us have not done literal exercise in years. Some of us since grade school, some of us since college, and some of us likely never. And how do I just jump into grabbing me some 5-pound dumbbells and hitting it? Maybe 5 pounds is too heavy at first. Start with a couple of 2-pounders. If those are too heavy, start with a couple of bottles of water or something, just to give yourself a little bit of resistance, and then use a YouTube video, senior workouts, that you can follow. And, why don't I create those workouts? I do have videos for that on my private Facebook group, but I don't open that to the public because it's a private group. So, but YouTube is plenty of really good fitness instructors. Find somebody you like, somebody that inspires you, somebody that understands what it's like to be about your age. Somebody 50, 60, 70 years old who's teaching fitness, who's been doing it for a long time, who knows what the senior body is and how it works, what its limitations are, but yet how it can be stimulated and trained and pressed just a little bit to keep it functional. Why? So that you don't lose the strength and abilities that you have right now. And so that 10 years from now, you can still maintain a good portion of that strength, that range of motion, and that ability. It sounds like work, Gene. I'm talking to myself again. Yes, it does sound like work. It is work. It's called working out. Uh, I don't think I could do that, Mr. Gene, because it seems like it would just make me sore. True. In the beginning, if you haven't been exercising at all, start light, go easy. Even if you have to go empty handed, just go through the motions with the exercise instructor on YouTube. You're watching me, you can watch another guy that's teaching how to do bicep curls, overhead presses, lateral raise, flies, upright rows, all those kinds of things. And just get your body used to the movement first, then add the load. It's the load that makes the difference. Always remember that, folks. When you want to get stronger, uh, uh, time under tension, time under stress builds strength. So if I'm not putting any load on the muscle and I'm just lifting air, the muscle's really not working. But we want to stimulate the muscles to grow and get stronger. And you got to have a load of some sort. I'd say a minimum dumbbell size of 2 pounds, but really for ladies about 5 pounds and men about 8 pounds is really good enough to get done what you need to do. So what is the payoff for this though? What do I get out of this? Well, let me tell you a quick story, and I'm going to close out the podcast. There's a lady who was in my class, and technically she's still in my class, except for one thing. A couple of weeks ago, she was in an automobile accident where a person blew a stop sign and hit her. It banged her up pretty bad, and she's in recovery. I talked to her today. She's a beautiful lady, 80 years old, physically fit, has been exercising with me for well over a year, and doing aerobics and doing the strength training and doing all of it. In my conversation with her today, she related that her doctor and her home health people that are coming to help take care of her right now are amazed at the amount of recovery she's already accomplished within a couple of weeks of this really severe injury she had. She had injury to her sternum. She had a severe injury to her knee, and she was bruised up and quite sore, of course. But the people that are taking care of her are amazed that she is as able-bodied as she is in spite of the automobile accident and the injuries that she has. She's up walking around her house, assisted, yet walking. She's still doing her strength training for upper body. And she's proud of herself because the caregiver says, no, you shouldn't be this far along yet. And they are amazed that she is as strong as she is. The strength that she built over these last few years of staying active and exercising and gardening, taking care of her yard work and all that stuff. When she got injured, now she's reaping the reward of that, in that her recovery process is much faster. The same can be said of some of my folks that have had knee replacement surgeries, shoulder surgeries, and hip surgeries. They come back after their surgeries. As soon as they've cleared rehab, they're back in classes with me, and before long, they're getting it just like they were before their surgeries. We may not be able to avoid hip or knee surgery or shoulder surgery. Sometimes we have injuries and conditions that go way back. But what if we have to go through those surgeries and we're extremely weak? and we don't have much muscle to support our body weight, and we don't have much muscle in our arms for rehabilitating a shoulder. You know, the idea is that if we have to go through something like that, and we may very well have to, that when we've had that surgery and we end up in rehab, there's plenty there for the therapist to work with, and it will enhance your recovery, probably at twice the speed if you went in there completely. And I hate to use this word, but it's legitimate in fitness that you didn't go in there as a completely deconditioned person. In other words, you'd lost significant strength, you'd lost significant muscle mass, you had perhaps gained weight that was not lean tissue, and your range of motion was severely limited because you just didn't use your joints and your muscles that way. So the theme of tonight was use it, use the muscles, work out, use the tools that you use. Vacuuming is very good exercise. I don't like it either, but I still do it. And I do some with one arm, and then I switch over and do some with the other arm. Why? Because if I exercise one side, I want to exercise the other side. That just makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And imagine this. Imagine you're in my class, and maybe you can try this at home while you're watching this. Put your hands together and extend them fully forward, straight out there in front of you. And now turn your hands over and bring your hands back and touch them behind your back. You should be able to do that. If you can't, you're tight across your chest and shoulders. And so that's just one of the many things we work on in the classes, because mobility, flexibility, agility, balance, and strength are the things that we over 60 folks need to be thinking about, and not just thinking about, but doing as we get ready to knock out the next 5 or 10 years. We know that life is not going to suddenly get easier for us when it comes to our physicality. It's just not. So we kind of have a choice in this matter. We can do the workouts and be better prepared going into our truly senior years, or we can do nothing, and then everything that hits us really hard, really, really hard. I'd like to think that, and I do think, and I do believe that because of the types of exercises that I'm doing with seniors right now, their risk for falls goes way down. The risk for injury goes way down. Their ability to do things that maybe they couldn't even do a year ago are coming back, because I get reports like that. Hey, Mr. Gene, I went out yesterday and got the pruning shears and trimmed up all my bushes. And it used to take me 2 days to do that, and I did it in one afternoon. And these women and these men are just proud as punch of themselves that they now experience in real world terms the benefits of staying strong for their current ages. And I always put it that way. If I'm going to be 75 years old in 10 years, I want to be a strong 75-year-old. 20 years from now, I want to be a strong 85-year-old. So I've got to take care of myself now at age 65, so that the prospect of having good years 10 or 20 years down the road is real. The prospect is real. That's what I'm hoping for. Hey, that's 35 minutes worth of talking and telling you what I think, and encouraging you to take really good care of yourself, because you've figured it out by now. You've seen your grandparents, your parents, maybe some siblings that have really struggled in the post 60 part of their lives, and you get to choose if you can do it better, if you can be stronger, if your limitations don't increase year by year, but that your abilities hang around for a long time to come to keep you safe, healthy, and enjoying the fruits of your labor from all those years you worked in the workforce. Until next podcast, this is Gene Fleming. Thanks to my international listeners. Thanks to my long-term listeners. People out in Iowa and Michigan and Canada and Texas. They follow this podcast, as well as people in New Zealand. New Zealand, how did they find me? I don't know. Why do they listen to a Southern guy talk about senior fitness? I don't know. People in the United Kingdom and people scattered all over the United States. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. This podcast is free. It's always been free. It'll always be free, because that's how I roll, baby. Until next time, may the good Lord bless you.